Imagine being just a normal dude 1 second, but then waking up with cheat powers that turn you into the most feared martial artist in an entirely new world. The story kicked off when the ancient time his martial arts value had shot past 2 million, which explained why his reflexes and senses had become sharper than ever. Just then, the system began glowing, clearly undergoing some kind of upgrade. With a single thought about boosting his vitality, a jolt of pain hit him like lightning. But along with the pain came power. Strength now flowed into him as effortlessly as if he'd just gone full Super Saiyan. The next day at school, the rich kid couldn't stop talking about how exhausting it was just walking a few steps to the Vitality Center. He bragged that his parents even bought him a home scanner to check his value without leaving the house. Not satisfied with just talking, he dragged Fang back to his mansion, curious if what Senior Wang had said about Fang was actually true. Once there, the rich kid insisted Fang fire up his emotions and try hitting his peak. Fang gave it a go, and the value hit 113. The rich kid stood there stunned, but that wasn't the end of it. Fang ended up spending the entire night at his house, just trying to convince the guy that the numbers were legit and not some kind of trick. Eventually, test day rolled around. At the exam center, the examiner delivered the usual hype speech, reminding everyone that martial artists were the backbone of the nation's future. He laid out the rules and stated the passing mark. Anyone scoring above 112 was in. With that, the test began. Students started shouting with all their might, trying to push their values up. Once the room quieted down, only one voice kept howling like a lunatic: Fang's. He refused to stop, screaming like a Dragon Ball hero on his last power-up. The testing capsule lit up in a blazing red. The examiner stared in disbelief as the number on the screen shot up to 149, the exact same number Senior Wang had scored the year before. Even the rich kid, who had been full of doubts the night before, stood speechless. Fang had trolled him the entire evening with a straight face. After clearing the test, Fang called up Wang to ask about university options. His senior told him to meet at the sports arena the next day at 2 p.m. sharp. That night, when Fang's dad saw the test results, he got all emotional and even teared up, proud of how far his son had come. At the arena, Wang greeted Fang with a warm congratulations and introduced him to his master's daughter, Nini. He told her to wait nearby for a bit, and as she walked off, Wang's mind drifted to the past. He remembered his master, Jiang Qingmin, who once willingly walked into a closing portal with no guarantee of return, just to save humanity. Before he 3 pills before him. He popped them all and soon felt his arm bones harden like tempered steel. Hours into focused training, a surge of fire roared through him. He'd broken through. Lu told him to bring Sumi next time so they could begin actual martial techniques. Fang, overjoyed by reaching first rank, asked for his reward pills. Lu instantly shut him down. Vitality and mining pills weren't free candy, and kicked him out of the room. The next day, Lu met with her new students and, without warning, pulled off a Bruce Lee-style kick that echoed across the training ground. She explained that true martial artists focus their tempering into a single strike point and told Fang to give it a shot. Fang, hyped and ready, launched his kick like a beast. The recoil hit back harder. He ended up with a foot so busted he wouldn't be walking straight for days. Lu casually mentioned she might have forgotten to tell him he needed alloy boots for that kind of move. Later, Fang hobbled his way to the logistics department on crutches, dragging his aching limbs down the long corridor. At the front desk, an old geezer was blissfully napping like he had no job in the world. Fang banged the counter and forced him awake, demanding a pair of new boots. The old man squinted at the wounded boy and scoffed, wondering what a half-broken cripple needed shiny kicks for. Once Fang explained that he was just temporarily out of order, the man finally leaned in and whispered like he was offering black market goods. He told Fang that E-rank boots would cost enough credits to empty his soul, and maybe a kidney and a half too. When horror spread across Fang's face, the geezer sweetened the deal. For a special discount, he could get D-rank Yeezys in exchange for both kidneys. A few days later, Fang, Fu, and Suvi headed to the martial arts club for training, but immediately turned around upon seeing others already inside. Just as they were about to bail, a group of senior students called Fang out in that classic bully tone. One of them, a long-haired pretty boy, stepped forward, clearly holding a grudge. He announced that since Fang was connected to Wan, the guy who had stomped his brother into the dirt, it was time to take revenge on the junior. Suvi tried to talk him out of it, warning that he was still injured. But the most dramatic sibling loyalty. He figured they'd keep pestering him anyway, so he accepted the fight. The club's female referee stepped up and the duel began. The senior grumbled that thanks to Wan, he'd spent 3 months in a hospital bed and lost his 3rd rank. Fang rolled his eyes and told him to skip the sob story and start throwing punches. The guy activated a fiery aura and charged like a bull, fists flying inches from Fang's face. Fang landed a kick, but it did little more than tickle. In return, the guy threw a punch that nearly shattered Fang's arms. Before Fang could even catch his breath, fists rained down like a monsoon. Fang began ducking and dodging while begging the kind sir not to bash in his head. He clearly had no idea what he was doing, or so he claimed. The senior, thoroughly annoyed, fired off a roundhouse kick fast enough to blur. Fang was wide open. Then, in his mind, Lu's voice echoed, reminding him to channel the force through his feet. He did, and in that moment, Fang seemed to float midair. He zipped forward in a blink and unleashed a thunderous kick straight to the guy's chest. The senior dropped like a sack of bricks. Longhair began rambling again about his dear brother, but Teacher Lu cut in with a verbal slap. She exposed him on the spot, revealing that his brother was nothing more than a third-rate bully who used to scam underclassmen for lunch money. But Longhair wasn't done and threatened to stomp on Fang regardless of his injury, until Wang strolled through the doors and calmly told him to try picking on someone his own size. That evening over dinner, Fang asked Wang why he'd shown up at such perfect timing. Wang brushed it off as a lucky coincidence and gave credit to Senior Qin. That's when Yinan dropped some big news. She told Fang about the upcoming National Freshman Exchange Competition, where 99 martial arts schools would battle it out for top-tier resources. It was time for him to start preparing. The next day, a meeting was held in the conference room, where all the mentors discussed the stakes of the competition. It was being hosted by Mo University itself, and the winning school would score a whopping 20% boost in their yearly resource allocation. Tang Feng announced that this year, to level the playing field, the freshmen would be representing the school. Lu joked that if they were serious about winning, Vice Principal Wu Qixian should just enter the ring himself. Tang quickly shut that idea down, reminding everyone how Wang's constant humiliation of their third-tier students had made the academy a national meme. It was time to restore their pride. He then ordered the 10 new students to reach peak first-tier strength within the month, or they'd be carrying shame on their backs instead of weapons. Training began right away. The fresh recruits were assigned a mission to hunt down elite rebel warriors, each one netting 30 credits. At the end of the mission, everyone walked away with brand new weapons. Fang got handed a spear, which he immediately began swinging around like a flagpole. Just then, Lu appeared and scolded him for cultivating like a caveman. She handed him a scroll instead, a sword technique called Bloodburst Blade developed by Governor Zhang, and ordered him to train with it properly. Time skipped forward. The day of the grand competition finally arrived. The really hit turbo when Hanakshu activated Ghost Footwork. One moment he was in front of Sun, the next he appeared behind him, landing a brutal strike straight into Sun's chest. Sun winced but refused to go down easy. He latched onto Hanakshu's spear, hoping to drag him into a close-quarter finish. Unfortunately for him, Hanakshu twisted the tables once more and flipped Sun to the ground like it was rehearsed. Sun tapped out. Round 1 was over. On the sidelines, Qin leaned over to Wan with a smug grin, predicting that Fang wouldn't even survive his first match. After a brief break, the host returned to the stage with booming excitement, declaring it was time for match 2. Before Fang stepped up, Yuan sprinted to him with tears streaming, begging him not to go. But Fang, calm as ever, simply declared himself a warrior and marched toward the battlefield. By now, news of Fang's fight had exploded across the country. Even his father took leave just to watch. When the host began reading Fang's battle card and saw Lion's Roar as his finishing move, the man froze for a split second. That wasn't some rookie move, it was a technique straight out of Legends. Zhang Guanglin from the yellow team, Fang's opponent, scoffed. He taunted Fang, asking if he even knew how to use the Lion's Roar. Fang waved him off, claiming he was still powering up and didn't want to be disturbed mid-focus. Zhang analyzed Fang's stance and posture, finding one flaw after another, until it dawned on him that everything felt off. Too off. Suddenly, Fang dropped his weapon on purpose, sending Zhang into defensive mode. But before anything happened, Fang casually changed positions just to troll him, making Zhang look like a confused NPC. Furious, Zhang leaped into the air and launched his Thunder Strike, but Fang brushed it off like lint on a jacket, proving it had all been a trap. Then came the twist. Fang split his weapon in two. A hidden phoenix knife emerged from the handle, sending a visible gulp down Zhang's throat. Without wasting time, Fang channeled his energy and executed the Bloodburst Frenzy, his newly learned killer move. It hit dead on. Zhang's weapon shattered, and he went flying out of the ring like a ragdoll. The match was over in a blink, and Fang even helped his opponent up like a gentleman. Just when Zhang's teammate got pumped up, thinking Fang would tag out, the host asked if Fang would continue, and Fang nodded coolly. Back at the yellow team corner, Zhang apologized for messing up, but their captain reassured him. He was proud they'd forced Fang to reveal his trump card and figured there was no way Fang could pull that kind of move again so soon. But then, Fang popped 2 energy pills like breath mints, pretending it was totally normal. Everyone assumed he was bluffing. That is, until the host screamed into the mic that Fang's energy had completely recovered and even surged beyond normal levels in under 20 seconds. Up in the skybox, the Grandmasters began murmuring like gossiping aunties at a wedding. They realized this boy had to be a physical freak of nature to absorb pills that fast. Desperate now, the yellow team captain turned to their second fighter, Chen, and gave him a brutal instruction. Aim low, real low. Hit him where it hurts. Round 2 began before the crowd could settle. Chen charged without even saying hello. At first, it looked like Chen had the upper hand, but in a flash, Fang unleashed a 2-stage kick that struck with such precision, Chen went down like a dropped tower of Jenga blocks. Another win, 2 back-to-back. As the crowd roared, the host turned to Fang and asked if he'd like to tag out, but again, Fang simply nodded to continue. That's when panic crept in on the yellow team. Their captain, Weibin, realized he had messed up royally by underestimating this guy. Without giving Fang a breather, Weibin jumped straight into the ring and launched an all-out blitz. Fang yelped in protest, complaining that he didn't even get to take his pills yet, but the fight was on. And then Fang did the unthinkable. He entered the void standing state, floating midair like a martial arts messiah. Even his own teammates were shook. No one knew when he had trained that. Not even the guests in the VIP seats. Nanjing Wu limped offstage with flair, cracking a joke that had everyone laughing, except his team. Next up was Xiaoman, fired up and entering the ring barehanded. Shu dropped his weapon too, deciding to take her on with pure fists. She threw a punch, he caught it like a pro. She tried a sneaky kick, but it met his rock-hard thighs like a mosquito hitting a tank. Then came her secret weapon, a skull-to-skull headbutt that shook both of them. They traded blows, Jackie Chan style. She threw a wild kick, he stabbed her in the shoulder. But before the crowd could count her out, she leaned in and smashed her forehead into his once again. Her hairline might have taken damage, but her pride didn't. The third fighter from Jinmu entered next to face Zhao Lei. Meanwhile, far from the stadium, Wang and Qin were on the run. Turns out Wang had stolen a massive crystal, hoping to gain enough power to one day save his mentor. Back in the arena, Zhao Lei gave it everything he had, but his opponent casually dodged every strike and knocked him out with embarrassing ease. Without skipping a beat, that same fighter provoked Fang's last teammate into attacking and knocked him into the dirt like swatting a fly. Just like that, Mo's dreams of making it to the finals were crushed. That defeat lit a fire in Fang. Despite their loss, he pulled a sneaky comeback move, forming a triangle formation with Zhaoxu and Xiao Yikai. Somehow, they pulled off a miracle and took down the Wu University Alliance in the elimination round, giving them one last chance at glory. Most of Fang's team looked like they'd just crawled out of a medieval war zone, half dead and lying in beds. That's when the Lionhead made his appearance, delivering a motivational speech that could wake the dead. He told Fang to fire up the squad, and Fang didn't disappoint. As the match between Mowu and Jingwu exploded online, fans argued over which side to cheer for. Mowu's support rating tanked like a crypto coin crash. Before anyone could process it, the first match lineup was revealed. Jin Lei versus Zhang. They both walked into the ring like heavyweight boxers. After that, deep in thought, he racked his brain for a way to flip the fight. And then, boom, he bounced back, fully recovered. To the audience, it looked like he had popped a mythical, life-restoring pill. Han warned him that the old frenzy trick wouldn't cut it anymore. But Fang didn't need the old tricks. He launched a new move called Tiger Breaks the Army, chaining it into a brutal series of follow-ups that finally overwhelmed Han, snatching the victory right out from under him. With that, the grueling 3-day tournament came to a dramatic end, Fang's team taking home the win and a truckload of prizes. The announcer hyped up a rematch coming after the New Year holidays. That battle taught Fang a valuable lesson. No more underestimating his opponents. So, instead of relying on his system, he got back to the grind, training nonstop. Later that day, Fang strolled home with his sister and the dorm crew. They chatted and joked, all agreeing they'd have to step up their game just to keep up with him. On the way, Fang cornered the chubby scam artist who'd promised exclusive coverage but never delivered, demanding a cut of his profits. The guy practically cried and bolted in terror. At that moment, a few others caught up with them. One buddy showed off his healed body, ready for round 2. Then, Woxe Elman casually declared that anyone who didn't hit second rank by the start of the new term was officially gay, earning a very suspicious glance in Youngzi's direction. With laughs and banter, they all said their goodbyes and Fang boarded the train. On the ride, his sister looked surprised that Fang only placed 6th in the rankings, but Fang smirked and dropped the real bomb. He'd snuck into the control room and found out he was actually ranked 2nd. His classmates lost their minds. He told them to keep it under wraps for now. One classmate teased that he was catching up to Wang, but Fang fired back that Wang was already charging toward 4th rank. Just like that, the competitive fire inside him reignited. As he walked home, the festive lights and peaceful streets filled him with a warm feeling. Some kids even asked for his autograph, which he happily gave. The day ended with a tear-jerking reunion with his parents. The next morning, Fang went out for some fresh air when the agent who'd arrested Huang Bin casually approached him. With a grin, the guy revealed that for taking down Huang and dominating the martial arts contest, the city had decided to gift Fang his very own studio apartment in the rich district where his sister studied. The news left Fang speechless. He immediately called Wang to ask why he hadn't claimed a share of the reward. But Wang, being the chill senior that he was, said he didn't need it. He even encouraged Fang to use the place for training without disturbing the fam. Fang offered to buy him dinner in thanks, but Wang was swamped with work and promised they'd hang out later. Soon after, Fang moved into the fancy Guxia class apartment with his family. They settled in, filling the space with warmth and chill vibes as the New Year holidays rolled by. After the break, Fang dropped the news that he'd officially hit second rank. The whole crew was floored. Then, just as things were settling, an old friend called and invited him to Nanwu. Since it had been a while since Fang saw Wang, he accepted the invite. Few asked what it was about, and Fang said they could all tag along, instantly turning it into a squad trip. Upon arrival, the crew was blown away by how pristine and elegant Nanwu looked. The peaceful setting even got the girls talking about how calming it felt. But peace never lasted long in their world. Suddenly, a loudmouth punk barged in, cursing and trying to start drama. Moments later, Wei walked in, cool as ever, and welcomed Fang and the crew to Nanjing Wu University. He casually asked if Fang had already peaked at the second level, then dropped a cheeky suggestion. He wanted Fang to wreck the Nanwu students just like he did to Mowu during his last visit. Wang chimed in, saying the students had grown too soft and needed a wake-up call. To that end, playstyle wouldn't cut it. Things got tight when the opponent used a fiery horse technique to pin Fang down, cornering him with zero room to breathe. Fang took the hit head-on and was sent flying like a ragdoll, hitting the ground hard. But he still got up. Staggering and wild-eyed, he charged again, only to take a gut punch that folded him in half. Desperate, he unleashed everything he had in a frenzied onslaught. Blow after blow, they clashed, until one final punch from both sides made the crowd collectively wince. Running low on energy, Fang resorted to primal tactics. He headbutted his opponent over and over, finishing the guy off like an unhinged street brawler. Then, breathing heavily and covered in sweat, he roared at the audience, daring the next piece of trash to step up. That's when Wei intervened, declaring that Fang had done more than enough. He turned to the silent crowd and called them out for their cowardice, telling them to reclaim their honor by crushing the lowest of the low. Just like Wang had planned, that speech ignited a fire in the students. The next day, Fang walked into the training center where Teacher Liu had summoned him. Inside, he witnessed Qin brutally body two guys. One was smacked into the ground like a bug, while the other got launched into the ceiling like a fastball. An NPC around Fang's level dared to challenge Qin next, but Qin, now flexing third-rank power, shrugged off kicks to the crotch like they were tickles. After showing off, Qin noticed Fang and offered him as a substitute opponent, but Liu responded by punching Qin into a wall for destroying school property. She then told Fang to follow her, leaving the half-conscious Qin behind. As they walked, she explained how the training center was built for breakthroughs. In the waiting room, she broke down what it meant to reach third rank. Titanium bones, insane strength, and practically indestructible bodies, except for their brains. For Fang to get there, he'd need to refine every inch of his body. At the counter, a grumpy admin scammed Fang out of all his points without giving him a chance to negotiate. Still, Fang entered the training room and sat down, laser-focused. His vitality points dropped like crazy, and a monstrous aura surged around him. His eyes glowed with power, and Liu, watching from a distance, began to realize this kid might actually become a master someday. Even Fang was stunned when his meridian snapped into place, signaling a sudden breakthrough. He called out for some good pills to celebrate, but Liu just told him to keep dreaming. Meanwhile, back at the academy, the Golden Geezer started to worry. Bai and the other elites hadn't returned from their secret mission in the underground, and time was running out. The principal, frowning, quietly deployed all available second-rank fighters, starting to suspect humanity's peace was on the verge of collapse. Later, as Fang headed to his first underground class, Youngsi ran up to him asking if he'd seen her teacher, Bai. Just then, someone announced that the survivors had arrived at the south gate. 2 trucks rolled in slowly. The nurses began unloading them, each body lifeless, each moment silent. Youngzi finally spotted her mentor and smiled, until she realized the woman's left arm was missing. Only a blood-soaked shirt remained. A few seconds later, the Golden Geezer and several other high rankers floated down. Though his expression was somber, he tried to lift the mood, saying just making it back alive was already a win. Bai turned to Liu and handed over her students' training, making Youngsi tear up. She asked if her teacher had abandoned her, but Liu explained softly that Bai had suffered serious internal injuries and wouldn't recover for at least 2 or 3 years. Then, another warrior stepped off the truck and dropped a bomb. Lanceway's underground forces had rebelled, costing 6 elite meteors their lives. The Golden Geezer immediately ordered proper funerals and promised support for their families. Watching it all unfold, Fang stood there confused. He hadn't expected this underground business to be so dangerous. The whole situation left him wondering what dark secrets were hidden below. As the sun rose, students gathered to honor the fallen heroes. In front of the graves, they raised their elbows in salute, and soon the quiet air was filled with sobs. That day, their new mentor began teaching them everything about the underground caverns. She explained that the first known gateway opened 800 years ago during a catastrophic earthquake in Sichuan, splitting the ground and unleashing havoc. According to the Chronicles of Origin, this accidental breach let powerful underground beings, stronger than even 9th-rank warriors, slip into the surface world. When Fang asked why they couldn't just walk through the gate and end it, she told him the spatial isolation between the two realms would require an insane cost to break. However, research now suggested the barrier had been weakening ever since the first portal opened. She went on to say there were currently 22 such gateways, all unconnected and full of rare resources, while also revealing a grim truth. The creatures below outnumbered humanity by far. After class wrapped up, Fang once again approached Master Lu, politely urging her to accept Yangxi as her new disciple. Lu gave a long pause, clearly weighing the request, but finally nodded, agreeing to give the girl a chance. She then turned to Bai and gently asked her to step away due to her worsening health. As Bai walked off slowly, Lu's expression hardened as she looked back at Yangxi and bluntly called her a waste of resources. Fang didn't hesitate to defend her, but Liu spun the conversation onto him instead. She raised a brow and questioned why he'd only tempered 6 coins so far. Without missing a beat, Fang squeezed out some top-tier crocodile tears and whined that his family was too ancient and frail, so he had to hoard coins to survive. Somehow, this excuse worked. Lu softened and offered him some much-needed resources along with a mysterious scroll. She instructed him to wait at the entrance of the southern district and hand the scroll to a white-haired old man who would be emerging from the underground, and just before sending him off, she told him to pass on a message. Her daughter still loved the man and he should stay by her side. Now feeling richer than a lottery winner, Fang sprinted straight to the school shopkeeper and proudly bragged about his newfound wealth, over 1,000 credits. He demanded a 3rd-grade vitality pill, top shelf only. The shopkeeper raised an eyebrow and instantly guessed Lu must have been the one behind this sudden flood of points. Curious, he asked what Fang had done to earn them. In response, Fang smugly handed over the scroll, but the moment the old man peeked at the contents, his face darkened. He muttered that the person mentioned wasn't just his mentor, but also his sworn enemy. Apparently, this mysterious figure was the lord of the 9th-grade realm from the Modu Cave. Fang stood frozen, his smug expression melting into dread. He realized too late, he'd just walked into a trap. That night, Fang crouched in the bushes with his crew, waiting near the underground entrance. As soon as they noticed movement, Fang assumed this had to be the guy Liu mentioned, maybe even her father. When a long, white-haired man finally appeared, Fang boldly stepped forward, handed over the letter, and repeated that Liu missed him. The old man looked him dead in the eyes, asked for confirmation, then, without any warning, flicked Fang through the air like a paper airplane and vanished. Everyone just stood there, speechless, trying to process what just happened. Next day, Fu explained the full story. The man Fang had boldly delivered that scroll to was none other than the Snake King Wu Xian, ranked 47th in the martial world and vice principal of Mo Academy. And, plot twist, he wasn't Liu's dad, he was her husband. They even had a daughter together. According to Fu's father, the Snake King once dragged his daughter into a dangerous underground mission, where she tragically died, and he could do nothing but watch. Later on, while Fang was training, both his mentor and Wuxian showed up at the shopkeeper's place. The Snake King narrowed his eyes as he saw Fang manipulating mental energy to gather energy particles, something only 6th-tier warriors could normally pull off. Yet here was Fang, a mere 3rd tier, casually pulling it off like he was collecting apples. Both mentors immediately realized they weren't dealing with just another student. Fang was a rare, mutated warrior. Once Fang finished, he excitedly announced he'd reached the peak of the 3rd tier. His mentor, clearly impressed, approved and told him to return later for advanced technique lessons. Soon after, the big day arrived. All the students gathered, geared up, and ready to descend into the underground world. Their mentors and the Golden Geezer came to see them off, throwing in a few last-minute pep talks about bravery, duty, and survival. The mood was a mix of excitement and nerves. As the young warriors departed, the elders silently prayed they'd all return in one piece. After reaching the staging area, Tang Feng instructed everyone to pack their essentials. The squads then marched toward the military checkpoint, where he flashed his permit to a soldier who looked just as battle-hardened as him. With clearance granted, the group stepped into the underground mission hall, called him a waste of talent, a disappointment, and said he had no intention of recognizing Fang until he showed what he was really made of. He reminded him, a warrior's purpose is to serve humanity. Fang's eyes lit with resolve. He swore he wasn't afraid to die if it meant fulfilling his duty. Tang simply raised a brow, told him to prove it, and marched off with the rest of the team, leaving Fang standing alone with something to prove. Later on, as the group moved cautiously under the guide's instructions, Nungzi suddenly realized something, or more accurately, someone, was missing. She glanced around and pointed out that Fang hadn't been seen for a while. The others paused. Then it clicked. Fang Ping had gone AWOL again. Meanwhile, on his unintended solo side quest, Fang was navigating unfamiliar terrain when a cave dweller suddenly leaped from the bushes with the grace of a budget Assassin's Creed NPC. Fang barely managed to draw his weapon before the creature retreated into the tall grass like a shy Pokemon. Staying alert, Fang tuned into the smallest shifts in the air and fired off an energy blast that vaporized the creature in one clean shot. As he approached the corpse, he noticed how oddly human it looked. A glance at its dog tag confirmed it. It was from Timon City. Without skipping a beat, Fang yanked an energy stone from the body and started backing off. That's when trouble walked in. 3 warriors emerged from the shadows, clearly investigating the commotion. One of them tilted his head just slightly toward Fang's direction. That single movement said it all. They'd spotted him. Without waiting for a friendly hello, the trio drew their weapons and charged. Fang's first attack got slapped aside like a wet towel, so he did what any sensible person would do. He turned and bolted, bouncing through the trees like a caffeinated squirrel. Despite a few flashy mid-air strikes, none of his attacks hit. Realizing his punches weren't landing, Fang after, soldiers gathered from across the base while the instructors huddled together in deep concern. They admitted they were severely outnumbered, and this time the old principal wouldn't be stepping in to save the day. His golden body, once near invincible, was now hanging by a thread, and using it could easily cost him his life. Back in the infirmary, Sumi broke the news to Fang. War had been declared against the underground army. A heavy mood settled over the room, until Fu jumped in with a grin, calling it the perfect opportunity to level up like never before. That fiery remark jolted the others out of their gloom and sent morale soaring, but Liu quickly ordered Fu to stand down, pointing out his injuries. Fu clapped back, accusing Liu of hogging all the glory like some spotlight-thirsty influencer. Fang, however, refused to stay on the sidelines. He admitted he was terrified of dying, but watching his friends fall was even worse. If it came to it, he'd take down 2 entire cities solo. That speech earned a pause right before Liu gave him a dose of reality. The battlefield was crawling with abyss-born monsters ranked 8th and 9th. This wasn't a game. Still, Fang asked young C for a handful of rejuvenation pills and downed them like candy. While checking out his half-dead weapon, Fang got a surprise visit from the captain, who tossed him a B-rank crescent blade, reclaimed from one of the enemies Fang had personally wrecked. With upgraded gear in hand, everyone started arming up just as reinforcements began arriving through the portal. At the same time, Fang realized something grim. His body had taken too much damage to ever fully heal. His only hope now was to shoot for the 8th rank golden body, like the principal had once done. That thought lit a fire inside him. He locked eyes with his next goal, catching up to Senior Wang after the breakthrough. Later in the meeting room, Kim wasted no time boasting about being one of the 2 third-rankers summoned for backup. The battle briefing began with Tang explaining the target. Xiao Lei tried to volunteer, but the big guy immediately shut him down. His strength, while impressive, meant nothing here. This wasn't a sparring match. It was war, and they'd have to follow orders like clockwork. As the soldiers wheeled in 2 massive trunks filled with energy recovery stones, a war horn suddenly blasted through the air. The time for talk was over. On the battlefield, cave warriors had already spread out, lying in wait like bugs before a rainstorm. The general gave the command. It was time for humanity to strike back. Everyone cracked open their energy stones like glow sticks at a rave, and the mid-air chaos exploded instantly. The sky lit up as fighters clashed mid-flight. Creepy cave warriors, stunned and shaken, began to retreat, and as the dust settled, the battlefield fell eerily quiet. Everyone stood frozen, realizing the legendary old man had given everything. This would be the last time they'd ever see him. And that's where the series ends. But before ending this, shout out to Mr. P. Polito for always showing up first like a true MVP. And if you're hyped as I am, hit that subscribe and ring the bell. Let me know your wildest theories down below and brace yourself. Next time's gonna be absolute chaos.